What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. You ever wonder why Europeans don't teach African history? Because in order for them to teach African history, they would have to teach European history, real European history. And real European history consists of rape, murder, and pillage. They would have to teach how the Europeans raped, murdered, and pillaged advanced civilizations to create their civilizations. That's what they would have to do. Have you ever noticed that if you go to any right-wing YouTube channel or something who when they're, have an opportunity to talk trash about black people. Like, for instance, there was a YouTube channel, a white guy talking trash about Akon, failing making his Akon city, right? And if you went into the comment section, you would see a bunch of ignorant white people making fun and thinking that African people were just a bunch of spear chucking naked savages who couldn't invent the wheel, who had no capability of doing anything technologically sound or advanced at all. And they all sound ignorant, and I really wanted to respond to them, but I realized that they are highly undereducated, and that's also by design. Because there's no way they would teach their European masses that Africa was actually the greatness at which the European savage barbarians stole all of their things from and got all their ideas from. Because it would make for a low self-esteem for those Europeans. They already have low self-esteem, right? The last thing Europeans who can't point to any place in Europe that has any great ancient anything, last thing you would do is to teach them that Africa, the people that they have been trained and taught to look down upon, are the greatest group of people on the planet and built the greatest architecture, had the greatest cities, had the greatest political systems, and had cities that made their fantastical Roman cities on all their movies look like nothing. The best thing Europeans ever had was the Longhouse. That's the greatest thing they ever had was the Longhouse. A big long house made of wood. That's their achievement. And Stonehenge, which they didn't build. Black people built that before we became, mixed with those barbarian, savage, freaking Neanderthals and created those white folk. Right? But, yeah, they don't want to teach black history because that means they would have to teach the truth about their history, which would make them feel bad. Just like every movie that comes out makes them feel bad when they realize that the analogy is them being the bad guy. Anyway, that's all I got to say for now, guys. This is Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
So I saw someone say, why don't they ever teach African history in our schools? And I had to pause because it's not that they can't teach it. It's that they don't want to, especially when it makes Europe look like the monster that it really was. So let me put you on to something you probably didn't learn in school. Germany's first genocide didn't happen in Europe. It happened in Africa. The year was 1904. Germany had colonized what we now call Namibia. And when the Herero and Nama people resisted, not violently, just refused to be erased, Germany responded with brutality that'll make your stomach churn. They poisoned wells. They pushed entire communities into the desert and cut off their access to food and water. They built death camps. They chained people up, used them for forced labor and medical experiments, even beheaded them and shipped their skulls back to Berlin, all in the name of research. Not as evidence of war crimes, but trophies. Sound familiar? Because it should. Germany tested their genocidal playbook on African soil before the Holocaust. And then they exported that same cold, calculated violence to Europe decades later. But nobody talks about that. Likely because Black pain isn't considered historic. It's considered disposable. And don't let anybody tell you this was a long time ago. Germany didn't even acknowledge what had happened until 2021. And their apology came with no real reparation, just a PR stunt and a press release. They still haven't returned all the stolen bones. They haven't paid back the families that lost generation. They still haven't put this genocide in German textbooks. And the US, silent. Because when the West says never again, they really mean never again to white people. But when you ask why African history isn't taught, they can't teach you the truth without admitting that they're still protecting the people that committed the crimes. Germany practiced genocide in Africa. They perfected it, then pretended like it started in Europe. We're not supposed to remember, we're supposed to move on. But memory is resistance. And I'm here to say their silence doesn't protect them anymore. We remember everything. And the ancestors, they haven't forgotten either.
The most violent country in the world in the 19th century, by far, was perhaps the most democratic or second most democratic, and that was Britain. You can be democratic at home and ruthlessly imperial abroad. The most violent country in the world since 1950 has been the United States. It's been by far involved
Jeffrey,
in more,
stop
wait a
now.
minute, in more
Let's
wars.
Jeffrey, Jeffrey, I'm your moderator, and it's enough.
Okay, I'm done.
It's very strange that we can't divorce ourselves from this idea that the international system has to be dominated by the West, even though this reality is already gone.
And I think Europe is the most misguided of all. The United States, living in its delusions with between two big oceans, can get away with things. But Europe is in Eurasia. It needs cooperation with Russia. It needs cooperation with China. It needs a safe, shared continental space. That is the absolute magnificence of what Gorbachev envisioned. He was, to my mind, although he's reviled in Russia as having presided over economic catastrophe, the truth is he was the greatest statesman of our time because he was a person of peace at the end of a system that wasn't delivering and that depended on force. And he said, no more force. We're going to do it peacefully. And the tragedy is that the U.S. took that as we win, you lose, rather than as saying we all win, we now have peace, which was certainly how I heard things as a young person working to try to fulfill Gorbachev's vision of common prosperity from Rotterdam to Vladivostok, as he endlessly repeated and as we always said at the time. The idea was Eurasia should be at peace, it should be cooperative, it should be productive together. By the way, European leaders once believed that, and they knew. Many of them thought, okay, now we don't need NATO anymore. They certainly knew in 2008, including some in your country, Glenn, who absolutely knew at the time that the U.S. push for NATO enlargement to Ukraine was a direct provocation. And what's a mystery for me is why Europe has gone silent at the political level of basic truths. That what's happening right now is destructive of Europe. It's a threat to Europe's security, not because of Russia, but because of this divide. And we need to stop the divide, not go to war with Russia. Where are European leaders that 20 years ago would have said these things? And now they don't say them.
Wait. Before you go, for all my subscribers and philanthropists out there, I'm building a solar power community water bowl system in Nigeria. It's going to cost between $5,000 and $6,000. I'm trying to raise money. If you want to participate and help me build this solar power water system, please donate to the Cash App and put solar water in the notes. Solar water in the notes. I'll put PayPal, Stripe, and Zelle. Anyway, thank you. That's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out. Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.